Rachel Maddow, of course, is host of the Rachel Maddow Show on MSNBC tonight. She'll be reporting for an hour at 9 o'clock. Rachel, thank you for coming on early tonight.
Thanks,
Perhaps
Chris.
you can preview, but I was listening to your very, I'd have to say, well, wonderful description of the, I call it the music because I think behind every revolution there's a feeling to it, a hope, a dream. There was certainly with the Mubarak, I keep making my names wrong, the Barack Obama campaign in the United States, a sense of hope that went beyond the words. The people today found the words couldn't keep up with their dreams.
We are seeing something that moves us as Americans because I think Americans left, right, and center believe in government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when we see people in any country around the world try to make that happen through peaceful means, we instinctively side with them. And to think that the American people, I think the latest polling I saw, something like 82% feel like we are in sympathy with the Egyptian protesters in the street. That is a remarkable number when you keep in mind that Hosni Mubarak has been this great American formal ally for so long. He has been America's man at the cornerstone of the Arab world as a leader for so long without us having any regard for the way that he was treating his own people at all. And it tells you something important about the way that Americans think about humankind, to see how we can completely disregard that, our relationship with Mubarak, and turn toward his people when his people start articulating their human needs. I think this is not a story that is about us. This is not a story about American politics, the divisions between Americans on politics, or any of those things. But the way that we react to this and why it's so important to us to see these images, I think it does just remind you sort of where we're coming from as a people.
You know, I agree with you about the feeling. It's obviously manifest in your words and in the words of many others. But, you know, when you look at the polling in the United States, you see a line down the middle between left and right. And you see people on the right who, I think the number was 8% of the people in the poll we just looked at that support what they see happening in Egypt. 8% of the right. Yeah.
Well, you know, you also see Dick Cheney out there calling Hosni Mubarak a good man in the midst of all of this. I mean, there's certainly there is another side to this, but I do think that you know, Fox News is running all day with these protests too, and Americans are paying attention to these protests too. And I don't think that when people look at Hosni Mubarak up there giving that taped statement, saying, talking about himself in the third person and saying, addressing his people as if they are children and he is their father, I don't think it is a mainstream American position to identify with Hosni Mubarak in that situation. I just don't think most people do. I do think that, you know, the Cheney wing of the Republican Party will want that, and I just don't think it resonates. I do think that we are in a fragile position here in terms of figuring out what happens next. And the military is going to be key. And if this ends up being, I mean, when we saw Mubarak and Suleiman speak tonight, they are empty shells. We have no idea that they have any power to stay in office in the way they are describing that they're going to stay in office. They don't have the military with them. Those guys are just giving speeches that'll go down in history as ironic, if best. These guys may have no power behind them if the military isn't with them. And if this ends up being sort of a populist, popular-supported military coup, I mean, Americans are going to be in an obtuse relationship to this, right?
Yeah, I know, but I think we can follow it. I'm thinking it's not 7 days in May because it's not like that because it's a popular uprising.
That's right.
I want you to talk about something you're very good at, the conversation that's going on right now, and it is a conversation. The people in the street are speaking with one voice, trying to make a point. The military's listening. Barack is deaf. Mubarak is deaf. And so you see this interesting conversation. But there are people talking to each other. Those people in the street are talking to the military. And the military has been nudging this guy. First of all, he's not going to run for re-election. Then his son's not going to run. And then he's going to turn over powers, unclear what powers, to his VP that he's picked. It's all step by step. But what's pushing, well, your thoughts on this, is it that people we're looking at right now in the square pushing the military, which is really in power, and they're pushing the Mubarak administration, the regime, if you will, to do these steps, these baby steps. Eventually, he's going to have to take the big step if this crowd keeps up.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a mystery as to why everybody thought Mubarak was going to step down tonight. We woke today to news from Egypt that the military was speaking as a political actor without Mubarak and without Suleiman, right? The military Supreme Council met without those guys and said, protesters, your demands will all be met. What's their main demand? Mubarak must go. That was the military speaking without Mubarak Mubarak and without Suleiman having consigned them to the sidelines. And then essentially these statements that we got tonight from Mubarak and Suleiman, that was them speaking from the sidelines. We have received what they called communique number 1 from the military, telling the protesters.
What's communique number 2 going to be?
Exactly.
That's the big question.
That is what we're waiting on. And who knows when it comes. It may come sometime in East Coast prime time, U.S. time tonight. This is a 24-hour revolution. It may come tomorrow, but communique number 2 from the military is when I think we will know who's actually in power in Egypt. Mubarak and Suleiman saying they are is almost as good as you and I saying we are. At this point, we don't think they have any power behind them.
Did you ever think you'd be as thrilled by getting a letter from the military as we were today? I'll tell you, it was a breath of fresh air to hear that there was a voice of authority over there that wasn't corrupt, apparently not as corrupt. It wasn't desperate. It sounded morally firm. It said, we're with the people.
Yeah. And to see the reaction of the people to say, you know what, the people in the military are one. They have believed in the military. There's initial pictures of people in the streets handing flowers to soldiers standing around tanks. Right. I mean, they see the military in this case not as some sort of imposed power, but as somebody who speaks for them and who they trust. And so to see a statement of the military saying we accept that trust and we will move forward with it was a calming moment.